Hi, George Sell here of Service Department News. I'm here with Robert Alley, COO of Roomzzz Apart Hotels. Robert, hi. When we spoke about doing this interview, you talked about switching the entire business model of your company, albeit temporarily, to a humanitarian one. Can you sort of expand on that a bit and talk about the specifics of it?
Of course. Well, I mean, it's partly by requirement of the government, but we realised probably late in February, George, that people had started to book and stay for different reasons we would normally understand, directly related to the virus, related to taking self-isolation, or were separating themselves from family and friends because of the job that they were doing. And so we realised pretty quickly that had become quite a common request. Mm-hmm. And that was late in February, well before the lockdown, well before the government restrictions on hotel use changed. So that prompted us initially to make an offer to the NHS. It was quickly becoming obvious that was going to be the real focal point of the whole outbreak was protect the NHS. The message was clear from the government. Mm. And in all honesty, we'd used hotel stays or apartment stays in the past for charity. So it seemed like a fairly obvious thing to do when the occupancy started plummeting, to say, well, while we're still here, we're still running, we're still operating, we can do something useful. So that's where the initial interest in offering some apartments happened. Then it became more clear that we were getting requests from local authorities, particular logistics and key workers and supply chain, who are kind of part of that whole engine of fighting the coronavirus. And normal business had gone, right? So by the second week of March, the cancellations were flying in. Everybody was sort of seeing the same thing, and so your mindset has to change. Your business model has to change. You realise actually you can do something good, and the reasons why people needed you as a business and as a particularly as apartments, service apartments and apart hotels, was different to what it had been before. So I guess that's why our head turned and said, well, actually, we're going to remain open for the people that do live with us or call us home for a time, but we can do this. We can do this other look after these other people at the same time, while we all work out what's happening with this virus. So that's how the focus changed, because normal business had gone. I mean, clearly the lockdown then came and was quite definitive about what you could and couldn't do. So, we were pretty clear we were open for business for all the right reasons. And we had to deal with all the other customers who couldn't stay for the obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm. And how has this affected the staff kind of on the front line? Have you had to furlough or lay off staff, and what measures have you brought in to kind of protect them through this?
No layoffs. I don't think we ever need. I mean, we've stayed open in all 10 of our properties. Have all ended staying open. So we had a proportion of business that was long stay, quite normal and fully within the rules, if you like. People who we were their interim home. So we were open everywhere. What we have reduced is some of the administrative roles on furlough, a couple of training roles, apprentices, those kind of things which kind of don't materially change what we were doing, and we're able to put them on one side because the focus has all changed, right? It's all about what the teams needed on site and how we dealt with all of the customer queries and challenges that have come up over the last few weeks. So sales, marketing, revenue has been quite busy, but again, different kind of context to what they were doing. And operationally, we've almost carried on as normal, just with different customers, different needs.
Mm-hmm. And how has the virus affected the other companies within your parent company, the Park Lane Group? I know you've got a student housing company there. Are they also accommodating NHS workers?
Well, no, the short answer is no, and the reason is actually the student population sign long-term agreements. So most of those agreements would have run to June or July for the end of the student year. So they're while a proportion of them have gone off to home or whether they've left as the university courses have reduced, a lot of the university courses have just gone online. So a lot of the student population is still in-house, as it were. And obviously you can't let what's already been sold once. So it will obviously have to see how the summer period is affected. I think we're expecting to see a change in, normally we get this transition in July and August in the student accommodation where people are coming in, taking language courses and summer courses as a precursor to their September full university course. A lot of the universities are saying because of the changes in education at the moment, some of those university courses might start later, so we might see some of that student intake starting much later in the year because of the planning cycle around has been disrupted because of the virus. But largely no real change. I don't have an exact number. I believe it's probably around 20-25% of the student population have left, but they still have their apartments, so some may intend to come back. They're paid for anyway, so we wouldn't re-let it.
Yeah. What tips would you give to fellow service department or apart hotel operators who want to get involved with helping NHS and key workers? How do they go about it?
Well, obviously there are some normal agencies who deal with the government side and Crown Commercial Solutions in part. ASAP, the Association for Service Department Providers, has been quite proactive in working alongside a handful of those agents, and either component operator members or agent members have banded together to say, listen, we can work together on a no fee type basis, at cost type basis, as we have done. So I think there's a bit of structure there, and ASAP are helping to organise that a little bit. As an operator, I think what we've clearly recognised is that apart hotels and service departments can fulfil a requirement, a need, which actually hotels just couldn't do, because you can actually self-isolate. You've got everything within the space that you need. That's why we've been able to keep operating, and many other successful service department operators have been able to carry on doing what they're doing, looking after long stay or business like we have taken in terms of vulnerable or authority or logistics stuff, because people can get a full service within their apartment, if you like. So I think we've kind of proven the value of apart hotels for completely different reasons than we probably expected to in the first place.
Looking forward a bit, Robert, sort of coming out the other side of this and
yeah,
trying to imagine what the landscape is going to be like.
Right.
When I first suggested this interview, I was hearing a lot of people suggesting that leisure business will be slower to return than business travel. I've since heard people putting the opposite perspective. Can you see a change of strategy for you guys ahead? Do you think your leisure to business travel ratio is likely to change?
It's tricky, isn't it? I think everyone's in the same boat right now. We're all trying to look around the corner, which is not an easy thing to do. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I think there will be we can all see there's going to be a limit to international travel over the foreseeable future. Perhaps that's the next 3, 4, 5 months. The summer maybe is not going to see as much international travel, and I think we are the perfect answer for that staycation market. And people want to get away. There's a just talking to my own team, there's a degree of cabin fever that sets in. People will want to spread their wings a little bit over the course of as the lockdown unfurls. I don't, like many people, my guess is that the lockdown will be a transitional period. I don't see all the pubs and restaurants just opening their doors. It's going to have to be some degree of control to things over the next few months. But we all want to see the economy get going. I think the business market will try and recover as fast as it can. Won't be overnight, but it'll certainly try and get moving. There'll be a pent up desire to get projects and activities and initiatives are back underway that would have otherwise happened had this not come along. So the business market will find its feet as fast as it can. That's our instincts as operators and in companies, is to try and progress. So I think that'll happen, and I think the UK domestic leisure market will be healthy from the summer onwards, as long as we're allowed to be.
Mm-hmm. And do you think the current situation will affect your growth plans going forward and your business model? I mean, in terms of new properties and new properties, will you be scaling that back, do you think?
It's probably unfair to make a judgment on that right now. I think we have to see how easily the world puts itself back together, and that's a big job, right? We can all see how fast it's come to a stop. The question is how quickly it can restart again. We were always looking at some of the, in the UK, there's a handful of cities in the UK that we would love to be in. That I don't see that changing. I'm quite sure that the world will want to progress and will want to be in a couple of those cities that we're missing at the moment. And there's some amazing cities across Europe that within a short reach, that assuming the mobility recovers in some form over the next few months, I would hope that we'll still be looking at some of the same gateway cities we were looking at 2 months ago. There are obviously some nice opportunities, and those conversations are carried on happening. There's no reason to stop the interest in that just because we're going through this challenge right now.
Great. Nice to end it on a positive note. Robert, thanks very much for your time.
Pleasure, George. Good to speak.